It was the biggest pitch of my life, and I knew I was killing it. 47 investors on Zoom, Harold sitting stiff in the back row, and me, front and center, walking through the tightest logistics platform our team had ever built. Real-time predictive automation. FedEx, but smarter, faster, fully integrated with warehouse robotics. I had 3 slides left. 3, and I could already feel the win. That's when Greg leaned in behind me, real close, and muttered, "Don't mess this up, Duke." His breath hit my neck. Minty, overconfident, and cheap. I didn't even flinch. I just clicked to the next slide like he wasn't even there. My name's Alan Duke. I'm 56. Been building systems and software since the Netscape days. I've seen every kind of ego come and go. Greg was nothing new, just another overpromoted strategy guy who thought cloud meant magic and vertical integration was something you did with a resume. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. I kept moving through the pitch. Latency tests, deployment scaling, real-world applications. Then I pulled up the key stat, 3.2 milliseconds off target. That might sound small, but in this game, it's everything. Sub 4 millisecond lag meant we were faster than anyone else in the space. Period. I saw a couple heads nod on Zoom. One even typed impressive into the chat. And then it happened. Right as I reached for the final slide, the closer, the one with the side-by-side comparison, we got hijacked. My screen flickered. My deck disappeared. Oh, replaced. A new slide came up, black background, white text. Strategic vision, unlocking future synergies. Greg stepped forward like he was unveiling the cure for cancer. "Thanks, Alan," he said, like I'd just opened for him. "I want to talk about what this really means for our future." I stood there, remote still in my hand, blinking. Was this real? He started rambling about market positioning and leadership vision, pure noise. I looked toward Harold. The guy didn't move a muscle, just watched. So I stepped back, let Greg talk, let him bask in his little spotlight moment. But inside, I knew what this was. He wasn't trying to steal a slide. He was trying to steal the whole ship. I didn't blink, just waited till he ran out of buzzwords. Greg wrapped up his little visionary soapbox with something about reinventing the future, and the second he stepped back, I reached for the clicker like nothing happened. "Let's finish strong," I said, steady as ever. Brought the screen back to the real data, deployment roadmap, phase schedule, integration stack. I didn't flinch or comment, just kept moving like his little coup hadn't landed. A few investors were back to nodding. One of the guys from Sovereign tossed a thumbs-up emoji in the chat. I even caught Rachel from Hyde Park scribbling notes, but my gut didn't buy it. The slide hijack wasn't improv. That was premeditated. Greg had been circling for months, always checking in on projects that weren't his, asking devs what I was really working on, pulling reports he didn't need. I'd caught him once digging through my system logs, said he was doing due diligence. I didn't say anything then, just changed the permissions and started keeping score. He'd started calling me legacy code in meetings, like I wasn't in the room. Told HR we needed younger alignment. One exec told me Greg called me a seat warmer for the next phase. I wasn't dumb. I knew the setup. I'd seen it before. The subtle nudge, the quiet push, the helpful strategy handoff. They butter you up just enough so you don't see the blade going in. That's why I spent the night before cleaning house. Moved all critical source code behind 2-factor vaults, revoked legacy team permissions, scrubbed the public repos, updated the change logs with clean metadata, even encrypted the backup indexes and set the trigger on the rollback. Greg thought he was walking into a buffet. He didn't realize I'd cleared the table. After the demo, I ducked out for water. My hands were calm, but my chest was on fire. I took one sip, then heard them, Greg and Harold, just around the corner by the print station. Greg's voice was hushed but cocky. "After today, we make the change." Harold didn't answer right away, just kinda grunted. Maybe agreement, maybe indigestion. Either way, I knew what I'd heard. I didn't interrupt, didn't march up and make a scene. I just walked right past them, cool as ever, like I didn't hear a damn thing. Back at my desk, I opened a terminal and watched Greg's account ping our dev archive. Denied. The new firewall rules were live. I set them at 2 a.m., just in time. He was testing the locks. Then he hit Slack. First, a message to Jenna, our machine learning lead. Quick sync, need access to Alan's model notes. Then one to Marcus on the integration team. Where's that prediction delta script Alan showed us last week? I didn't reply, just watched. Logged every message, every ping, every attempt to probe the systems I'd built from the ground up. By the time he popped his head into my office like we were still friends, I already had a secure mirror of his Slack thread synced to my legal archive, and it kept recording after I was gone. "Nice job today," he said, fake smiling like a weatherman in a hurricane. "You too," I said, not smiling back. Then I shut the laptop and locked the drawer. The Q&A was already rolling. I was at the touchscreen, queuing up our deployment roadmap, when Greg stepped forward again. Smooth, rehearsed, like this was all part of the plan. "That's enough, Alan." His mic was hot, cameras rolling. Every Zoom tile lit up with frozen faces. I looked at him, thinking he just wanted to wrap early or toss in another useless vision slide. I half shrugged and said, "You want to close it out?" But he didn't even look at me. He squared up to the room and said, "Alan's time with us ends today, effective immediately. He's been relieved of his duties. Please give him space to exit the room." I didn't mishear him. Fired. On mic, mid-pitch, with 47 investors watching and at least 10 execs in the room. Nobody moved. Not a cough. Not a shuffle. Just this thick, paralyzed silence. I saw Harold shift in his seat like his spine gave out. Rachel from finance stared like she forgot what breathing was. Brett's mouth hung open, blinking like he just missed the pre-meeting memo. I set the remote down. No speech, no blow-up. Just placed it gently on the edge of the table. Then I nodded once, turned, and walked straight out. My heels hit the floor harder than I meant, but I didn't stop. Didn't give him the satisfaction of eye contact. Greg stood there, soaking it in, like he'd just slayed some dragon. Chin up, hands clasped, probably imagined a round of applause that never came. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that he'd just fired a named officer of the company, on the record, in front of stakeholders. Mid-investor pitch. And that funding clause? It wasn't buried. It was sitting right in the term sheet. He'd just yanked the pin on a grenade and didn't even realize it. I hit the hallway like a bullet, straight past the receptionist, out the elevator, into the street. Cool October air hit me like a wall. My chest burned with every step, but I didn't break stride. I walked fast, head down, laptop bag slung across my shoulder, thumb already tapping out a message to Emily, my lawyer. "Call me, now." 3 blocks later, I was in a booth at Hank's Diner, same one I used to grade coding bootcamp assignments back when we were scraping together alpha builds. I ordered a black coffee, opened my laptop, and pulled up the shared investor drive. Greg thought this was about stage time, about ego, about ousting the old guy. He had no clue I'd tied our funding to my employment 18 months ago, and now, with one sentence into a live mic, he detonated the clause that kept the whole damn operation afloat. I clicked into the term sheet archive, secure investor folder, locked behind 2 layers of MFA. Still had access, which told me one thing. Greg hadn't talked to legal yet. Now it was me and a bomb I'd planted a year and a half ago. Clause 4.2b. There it was, right between the revenue conversion triggers and vesting timelines. Continued investment is contingent on the employment of Alan Duke as lead systems officer. Non-transferable. Non-delegable. Not subject to substitution or temporary reassignment. Clean, dry, legal death sentence. Greg had no clue it existed. I was sure of it. He thought he was playing politics. He didn't realize I'd written my name into the foundation like rebar. 18 months ago, after one too many restructuring meetings, I sat down with Emily and said, "I want to make sure they can't swap me out like a graphics card." This was her answer. I'd pitched it to Harold during funding prep. "Why tie yourself in?" he asked, half interested. "Because AI systems don't survive leadership churn," I told him. "We're not a sales team. You pull the architect mid-deploy, the whole thing rots." He shrugged and signed. He thought I was being precious, thought it'd never matter. Well, it mattered now. Greg had fired me mid-sentence, on camera, in front of 47 investors. Fired the one name legally attached to the funding stream. On record, in writing, no ambiguity. That clause had just gone from legalese to a live wire. I screenshotted it, time-stamped everything, then forwarded it to Emily with one line. Claws detonated. Advice? Seconds later. On it. I looked out the diner window. 2 kids were hauling a broken scooter across the sidewalk. No clue how the world was shifting inside this booth. I took a breath, opened a fresh doc, and started laying it all out. Time-stamped screenshots, Slack logs, access pings, everything Greg had touched in the last 72 hours. I was building a case, and he'd already supplied the ammo. My phone buzzed again. Emily. Did he do this with board approval? I typed back fast. No notice, no vote. Just set it live. Then he's cooked. That was all I needed. The coffee was cold now. Didn't care. I was already 10 steps ahead. Greg wanted to make a name for himself. Fine. Now his name was going to be at the top of a breach report. He thought I'd be too stunned to move. Thought he could box me out while the room was still in shock. But he didn't just step on a landmine, he tap danced on it. And now, every investor who watched that pitch had also watched the company blow its own foot off. Later, I watched the recording someone leaked. Back in the pitch room, the Zoom was still live, cameras on, mics muted, investors frozen like a glitchy thumbnail wall. And Greg? He was standing center stage like he'd just wrapped a TED Talk, smiling, blinking, completely unaware the air had been sucked out of the room. Then a mic clicked on. Where's Alan? David Feldman from Northbridge. Calm voice, slow delivery. Not the kind of guy who speaks unless he's sure he's about to ruin your afternoon. Greg blinked, smiled wider. We're entering a strategic transition phase. Alan's role, while appreciated, was tied to the build phase. We're now entering execution. Another mic lit up. Rachel, Hyde Park Capital. Was Alan informed of this strategic transition before you fired him? Because from where I sat, you just cut him off mid-sentence. You could feel it, the shift, like a cold draft sliding into the room. Greg cleared his throat. Alan and I have had ongoing conversations about leadership shifts. Today was simply the formal acknowledgement of that change. Bull. Everyone knew it, but he kept going. That said, we're confident in the bench we built. Our roadmap is solid, and Feldman cut him off. Sharing screen now. Click, there it was. Investor term sheet. Clause 4.2b, highlighted in yellow. My name bolded like a red flag. Continued investment is contingent upon the active employment of Alan Duke as lead systems officer. Legal froze. Heads down, whispering behind laptops. PR's phone slipped out of her hand and hit the floor with a clack that echoed. Brett, so usually cool as hell, looked like he just got socked in the gut. Feldman didn't even blink. You fired a named officer on record during an active funding presentation. Greg chuckled nervously. We're in the process of updating the board on that. A formal filing is in motion. Then came the real voice. Smooth, unshakable. Kiran Mitra, Iona Ventures. Old money with sharper teeth than the rest of them combined. Greg, she said, did you fire a clause-bound officer without board notification or prior vote? Greg opened his mouth, closed it, tried again. There are discussions happening. In progress. In progress, she repeated, flat, dead tone. So no board vote yet. He shifted. It's moving. Feldman leaned in. Then your funding isn't. That one hit like a hammer. You could see the ripple. A couple cameras dropped. One muted investor stood up and walked off screen. Legal Slack window started lighting up across half the laptops in the room. Rachel leaned into her camera. Who signed off on that clause? Harold? Harold didn't answer, just stared straight ahead, eyes glassy. If he was hoping to play dumb, he was failing. Everyone in that room knew Harold signed it. And now, he was boxed in. Either admit he forgot, or admit Greg acted without authorization. Greg tried again. This was never intended as a hostile move. Alan's contributions are recognized and respected. We're simply pivoting to a more scalable. Mitra cut him off. You fired the guy mid-sentence. You didn't pivot. You detonated. Brett whispered something to legal. PR reached for her phone again, probably to draft a pre-spin. Too late. The damage was already up on screen, glowing in full res, clause 4.2b, staring back at every investor with my name stapled to their money. Greg swallowed, tried a smile. We'll get clarification on the clause this afternoon. Feldman said, no clarification needed. It's black and white. And just like that, the meeting fractured. Investors started dropping. Cameras blinked off. One by one, funding disappeared without a word. No drama, no yelling, just silence and screens going dark. I sat in the same booth at Hank's, watching the replay off a screen, recording someone had leaked to the Slack archive. No commentary, just raw footage. Greg standing there like a wet intern, trying to walk back a live execution. My phone buzzed. Emily, you're still an officer of record. Buzzed again. They didn't file the amendment. You want blood or a payout? I stared at the screen for a second, then typed, wait, she didn't like that. I knew her. She wanted to strike now, file breach, choke funding, run the company through a wood chipper, and call it Tuesday. But I needed more, because Greg wasn't letting go. While the company hemorrhaged investor trust, he was out there doubling down, telling reporters I was misaligned with modern growth culture, told the team I refused to collaborate with the new direction, said I was territorial. Territorial. Damn right I was territorial. I built the damn thing. But he didn't stop there. He hit Slack again, pinged PMs, passive-aggressively, thanked people for their flexibility during the transition, like I was already a line item in the past. Told devs to focus forward. Classic smear campaign. I'd seen this playbook before. Make the guy look unstable, drag his reputation through the hallway so no one asks why he's gone. But I wasn't gone. I was the clause. And legal, they were waking up. Internal compliance started poking around that afternoon. Quiet pings, no announcement, just background noise. Subtle questions to HR, audit logs being pulled, nothing formal. But the scent was in the air. They didn't find a notice. No record of board discussion, no filing, no time-stamped vote, just vibes and ego. Then Feldman pulled the trigger, officially paused funding, sent a notice to Herald and Legal, Clause 4.2b active, funding suspended until compliance review. Emily sent me a screenshot. Subject line, material breach. Greg had no clue how deep the hole was. Still thought he could PR spin his way out of it. But behind the scenes, the gears were grinding. Rachel called in her fund's legal team. Iona triggered a breach advisory. A partner from Sovereign started cold emailing Brett directly. They all had one question. Who the hell signed off on this? Zach's name started getting mentioned. COO, safe pair of hands. Not anymore. Harold tried to disappear into silence, but it was too late. The breach had weight. And that kind of breach, it doesn't live in press releases. It lives in SEC filings and investor lawsuits. So they did what they always do when the air turns toxic. They scheduled a board meeting. I wasn't invited. Didn't matter because I didn't need a seat. I was the agenda. I shut my laptop and took one last sip of cold coffee. Across from me, some kid in a hoodie was pitching an idea over FaceTime. Loud, fast, full of buzzwords. I almost laughed. That used to be me. Hungry, idealistic, talking in tech metaphors like they meant something. Now, I had a lawyer, a clause, and half the cap table panicking. Let them meet. Let them circle the wagons. They were trying to find a door out of a room I'd built with no exits. And all I had to do now was wait. At exactly 11:58 a.m., my phone buzzed. Filed. 6 words. Suspend payment pending legal clarification. Emily never used more words than she needed. That's why I paid her. Within 15 minutes, the company inboxes blew up. Every exec got it. Every investor saw it. And just like that, the tap shut off. Funding paused. Payroll frozen, deals suspended. Greg tried to rally the team on Slack, posted some motivational nonsense about turning adversity into opportunity, used a Nelson Mandela quote. Nobody responded, not even a sympathy emoji. Then he went into full delusion mode, scheduled a town hall, tried to act like this was all part of the growth cycle, told the dev team I'd left voluntarily to pursue personal ventures. Someone replied with a clown emoji. Not even a comment, just that. 10 minutes later, PR put out a draft. In the spirit of leadership evolution, the company is adjusting its executive structure to meet market realities. Legal told them to shut it down immediately. Breach notice was public now. Anything they said could stack liability. I just sat there in the diner, still in the same booth, watching the chaos roll in. Then came the real move. At 1:06 p.m., Brett called. I didn't answer the first time. Let it ring. Second call came at 1:11. I picked up. He didn't waste time. Would you consider coming back? I leaned back in the booth. Not under Greg. Silence. Then a low sigh. What do you want? I kept it simple. Full authority over engineering. Greg out. And you announce it. In writing. With dates. That's gonna take time. No, I said. It's gonna take nerve. More silence. I could hear him scratching his head, pacing, probably standing in that glass office trying to figure out if his job was next. He said, "Let me take it to council." I said, "Clock's ticking," hung up, didn't wait for a thank you. By that evening, the offers started rolling in quietly. Indirect pings from board members, back-channel texts from VPs, even a feeler from PR asking, if Alan were to return, would he be open to a revised narrative? Revised narrative. They still didn't get it. This wasn't about a redemption arc. This wasn't about saving face. This was about control. I didn't want a corner office. I wanted the foundation. Greg had kicked the wrong hornet's nest. Thought he could play king with a claws-bound officer and a fake smile. Now he was hiding behind ghost-written memos and team vision posts while the roof caved in. And nobody was standing next to him anymore. Not legal, not HR, not even Harold. I texted Emily. When's the board meeting? Tomorrow. 10 a.m.? I didn't ask for an invite. I didn't need one. Because by then, they'd already decided what mattered more. Their pride. Or their funding. And I knew which one always folds first. I walked through the side elevator at 9:57 a.m. Sharp. Emily right behind me. No badge, no escort, no warm welcome. Didn't need one. I wasn't there for ceremony. I was there to reclaim what never should have been taken. The boardroom was already full. Long glass table, nameplates lined up, laptops open. Greg wasn't in his chair. He was dialing in from an off-site, which I figured meant hiding in his condo in sweatpants, trying to look like he still mattered. Emily clicked her briefcase open, dropped copies of the revised terms at each seat like it was communion. Feldman was already on camera, tie off, sleeves rolled. He nodded toward Emily like they'd spoken earlier. Miss Kim is prepared to assume interim CEO duties pending board confirmation. Dead quiet. Greg's icon flashed. Camera off. Mic on. Greg tried to protest, claiming the process was invalid. Nobody answered. "This is a mistake," he said. "You're opening the company to liability. I acted within reasonable judgment and under advisement." Rachel cut him off. "Zach, go." No emotion. Just steel. There was a beat of silence, longer than it should have been. Then Greg finally spoke again, quieter this time. "You'll regret this." No one replied. His icon vanished. Emily didn't wait. She slid the remaining term sheets across the table. "I'll walk you through the changes." No one objected. No questions, no hedging. Brett skimmed the first page, nodded once. Feldman leaned into his camera. "Let the minutes reflect that the board acknowledges breach mitigation under revised leadership," Rachel added, "and that Greg Lane is no longer authorized to act on behalf of this company in any capacity." Emily smiled faintly. Not smug, just done. I sat down at the end of the table. No nameplate this time, just authority and silence. Not a whisper of pushback. I could feel the shift in the air, not relief. Something colder. Like everyone in that room had just seen their own reflection and realized how close they'd come to burning the whole company down. I didn't gloat, didn't need to. They gave me exactly what I asked for. Greg was gone, I was back. And this time, I wasn't just part of the machine, I was the system. I walked into the exec floor the next morning. Same hallway, different key card. The scanner beeped green. The lock clicked open. Felt heavier than usual, like it knew who was holding it this time. Brett was waiting just inside the glass, tie loose, coffee in hand. He didn't say, "Good to see you," didn't try to smile. He just held out the new badge. "Let's not screw this up again," he said. I took it. No handshake, no small talk. Just walked right past him. The new office was bigger than the last one. Window view, clean desk, empty whiteboard, no flowers, no welcome back cake, no one pretending to be happy I was there. Just silence. And respect. I set my bag down, slid into the chair, and powered up the system. First thing I did was check the logs. Server access, repo branches, deployment keys, everything looked untouched. My vault was sealed, my tokens still worked. He hadn't gotten in. Everything was still mine. I leaned back, exhaled slow, and finally let the weight settle. Not relief, just confirmation. Greg, Last I heard, his LinkedIn said, exploring new opportunities. No photo, no banner. Just a guy trying to look employable after detonating a term sheet with his mouth. He went quiet fast. No blog post, no medium apology, just gone. Funny thing is, the clause wasn't even supposed to be a weapon. I wrote it out of paranoia, insurance against churn, against some rookie exec, pulling exactly what he did. I just didn't expect him to hand me the handle. He thought I was dead weight. A leftover. He swung first. And when he did, I didn't panic. I didn't go public. I didn't start tweeting or calling out names on LinkedIn. I let him swing. Then I let the claws do the rest. Quiet revenge. No headlines, no chest thumping, just the kind that burns long after the noise dies down. The kind where you show up the next morning, badge in hand, and walk straight back into the seat they thought they took from you.